Okay, so now we'll be studying about spinal anesthesia. So these spinal anesthesia are mainly used for operations on the lower limbs, pelvis, lower abdomen, prostatectomy, fracture setting, obstetric procedures, cesarean sections, etc. So the main advantages of these spinal anesthesia over general anesthesia are: it is safer. Procedures provides good analgesia and muscle relaxation without loss of consciousness. Even cardiac, pulmonary, renal disease and diabetes poses less problem over spinal anesthesia. Okay, so these all are the advantages of spinal anesthesia over general anesthesia. Now we'll see what exactly happens in the spinal anesthesia, where actually we are inserting the needle in the spinal anesthesia. So before for having a good understanding regarding spinal anesthesia, we should know a little bit anatomy regarding your spinal cord. Okay, so as you people might be knowing, spinal cord is mainly present just below the brain, or you can say it is continuous of your brain, and it is enclosed inside a vertebral column, isn't it? So vertebral column are nothing but the bones of the vertebral column. You might be knowing we have got cervical vertebrae, thoracic vertebrae, lumbar vertebrae. Okay, so these are stacked one around the another. Okay, like as just imagine this fingering is a kind of a vertebral bone, and this bone will be having a foramina. Okay, so this circle is kind of a vertebral foramina. So these bones are arranged one above the another, so they form a continuous no slot, and across this slot will be your spinal cord present. So vertebral column is a kind of protective bone where spinal cord has been placed. Like you have got your skull. Okay, skull is a kind of a protection given to the brain. Similarly, we have got a vertebral column that gives protection to your spinal cord. Okay, so not only the vertebral column, but apart from vertebral column we have got meninges, even epidural fat is there, which will provide protection to your spinal cord. So we'll see a brief anatomy regarding your spinal cord. So suppose this is your brain. Okay, and then your long spinal cord. Okay, now the spinal cord is been covered by three layers of tissues. Those are known as meninges. So starting from the innermost, we have got yes pia mater. Okay, orange color is for pia mater. Next, after pia mater, we have got arachnoid matter. I am making it in a blue color. Okay, next to arachnoid matter we have got lastly dura mater, isn't it? Okay, dura mater in pink color. Okay, so we have got pia mater, arachnoid matter and dura mater. Okay, this is pia mater, this one this one is dura mater, this is arachnoid matter, and the innermost layer is your pia mater. Okay, now the space between pia mater and arachnoid matter, this space is known as subarachnoid space, and the space between the arachnoid matter and dura mater is known as subdural space. Okay, so these are the three no protective covering present around the spinal cord, known as the meninges. Okay, and beyond that will be your vertebral column. Okay, so suppose these are your bones of vertebral column. Okay, and on, and same bones over here as well. Okay, so basically our spinal cord is getting protection from the meninges, which is made up of three layers of tissues. Those are pia mater, arachnoid matter and dura mater, and beyond that there will be a vertebral column or bones of the vertebrae. Apart from this, the space between the dura mater and the and the vertebral bones, this is known as epidural space, and this epidural space is filled with a fatty substance known as the epidural fat. Okay. Now, these from this spinal cord, obviously emerging will be your spinal nerves. Okay, spinal nerves are been emerging from your spinal cord. So depending upon the bone, we are giving names to those spinal cord, like we have got 1 2 3 4 and 5 cervical nerves. Next 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 and 12 thoracic nerve. Then 1 2 3 4 and 5 lumbar nerves, cranial nerves, and so on. Okay, now the thing is, just till here, okay, just to the level of the thoracic nerve, there will be end of your spinal cord. Okay, so the spinal cord will end up over here only, up to the first lumbar vertebrae, or you can say up to the level of this first lumbar nerve, the spinal cord will be ending. Okay, and the place where it is ending, it will be just like a cone shape. Okay, like you have ice cream cone. Okay, like you have got ice cream cone, similarly a cone shaped structure will be formed at the end part, or at the end portion of the spinal cord. So we are giving it a name, cauda equina. Okay, so cone shape ending of the spinal cord is known as cauda equina. Okay, beyond this cauda equina, there will be some extensions made by pia mater. Okay, like this, just like a horse tail. Okay, and surrounding this horse tail will be extension of your arachnoid matter and your dura mater. Okay, I'll make it like this. I had made dura mater with pink color. Suppose this is your dura mater, with blue color your arachnoid matter. Okay, and with orange color your pia mater, which will be like this. Okay, before it was like this. Okay, in brown color your spinal cord. So spinal cord ended here at the level of L1, suppose. Okay, beyond that there won't be any spinal cord. Okay, beyond that there will be an extension of pia mater, and this extension of the pia mater is known as filum terminale. Okay, so the spinal cord mainly lasts up to the level of L1. Okay, and beyond L1 there will be just an extension of your pia mater, which is known as filum terminale, and surrounding the filum terminale will be your same arachnoid matter and dura matter. Okay, so this is a brief anatomy regarding your spinal cord. Okay, so spinal cord is an extension of your brain. It is mainly surrounded by a three layer of meninges. Starting from the innermost, we have got pia mater, then arachnoid matter, then dura mater. The space between the pia mater and arachnoid matter is known as subarachnoid space. The space between the arachnoid matter and dura mater is known as subdural space. And beyond the dura mater, and means in between the dura mater and your bones of the vertebral column, there is a space known as the epidural space, and this epidural space is filled with a fatty substance known as the epidural fat. Okay, and this spinal cord lasts up to the level of L1, and this ending part of the spinal cord is known as cauda equina. And below this root of the spinal cord, there will be a branching like of substance made up of pia mater, which is known as filum terminale. Okay, so this is about the anatomy of your spinal cord. Now regarding your local anesthetics, so where exactly your spinal anesthesia is been provided. So this local anesthetic is injected in the subarachnoid space between L2 and L3. Okay, between L2 and L3, or between L3 or L4, or so in total this spinal anesthesia is mainly given below the cauda equina in between the L2, L3, okay, or in between L3 and L4 as such. So the primary site of action is the nerve root in the cauda equina rather than in the spinal cord. So basically lower abdomen and hind limbs are anesthetized and being paralyzed. Okay. So this is about the location where spinal anesthesia has been given. So nerve roots rapidly take up and retain the local anesthetics. Apart from this, the higher the higher segments are being exposed to progressively lower concentration of the local anesthetics. Okay, so higher centers will get lesser amount of local anesthetic agents. Apart from this, when we see the degree of blockade, suppose this is a degree of blockade for cutaneous analgesia. Okay, suppose this is a particular degree of blockage for cutaneous analgesia. So 2 segment higher will be the blockage for sympathetic. Okay, sympathetic blockage will be 2 segment higher, means tremendous amount of sympathetic nervous system will be inhibited, and to some lesser extent cutaneous analgesia, and from cutaneous analgesia 2 segment lesser will be your motor paralysis. Okay, so this is the degree of anesthesia provided by the spinal anesthesia. Okay, so basically spinal anesthesia is mainly provided in the subarachnoid space. It is been the needle is been inserted in between L2 and L3 or between L3 and L4. Okay, and after providing the anesthesia, the degree of the blockade will be 2 segment higher for sympathetic blockage and 2 segment lower for motor paralysis when compared to the cutaneous analgesia. Okay, apart from this, the duration of spinal anesthesia mainly depends upon the drug used and its concentration. When we are giving nearly 0.2 to 0.4 mg of adrenaline along with local anesthetic, it will increase the duration of action of this local anesthetics. Okay, apart from this, the woman during their late pregnancy will require lesser dose of local anesthetics when provided via the spinal anesthesia. Okay, so this is regarding the spinal anesthesia. Now coming to the various complications seen in the spinal anesthesia. Okay, so the very first complication is your respiratory paralysis. So this respiratory paralysis mainly occurs because of the paralysis of the intercostal muscle. Okay, so there won't be any blockade of the higher centers of respiration in the brain, just the intercostal muscles are being paralyzed, and because of which coughing and expectoration becomes less effective. So pulmonary complication can occur here. Next, regarding hypotension, hypotension mainly occurs because of sympathetic blockage. Okay, apart from this, these agents mainly causes vasodilation, because of which hypotension may occur. Next problem is your headache. Headache mainly occurs, you know why? Because see, whenever we are inserting a needle over this area, because of which there might be a chances of leakage of cerebrospinal fluid, and because of those leakage, headache may occur. So this thing can be minimized by using smaller bore needle. Next problem is cauda equina syndrome. Okay, so it is a kind of a neurological complication that results in prolongation of loss of control over bladder and bowel sphincter. So involuntarily the person may urinate as such. So it may be due to traumatic damage to nerve roots or chronic arachnoiditis caused by inadvertent introduction of the antiseptic or particulate matter. Okay. Next is septic meningitis. So as you know, itis means anything with a suffix itis or ending with itis means it is a kind of infection or inflammation. So septic meningitis is a kind of inflammation which occurs due to infection introduced during lumbar puncture. Incidence is as such very low. Lastly, the last problem is your nausea and vomiting after abdominal operation is due to reflexes initiated by traction on abdominal viscera. Pre-medication with opioid analgesic prevents it. So this is about your spinal anesthesia.